Evening monks, I hope we're all smashing the weekend. I've just been thinking about all the people that are out partying tonight, and here we all are, absolutely grafting and smashing the shit out of Monk Mode Month. I'm really impressed by everyone's progress, it's phenomenal. Just wanted to start off by giving a massive shout out to Mark for doing this on a weekly basis. I can't imagine how tough this can be, doing it 3-4 times a week. To the standard that he does it is just absolutely unreal, and I'm looking forward to going through everyone's SMBs. So we'll kickstart off with the DXY. So looking at the weekly, we can see we're around our value area. We have closed on a high test, but the high test is bullish. And on the lower time frame, we can see that the sequence just isn't the best for what we would see if we was going to sell off from here. So this gives me an idea on pairs like GU that we could still be seeing the short into the lows, which I'll cover in a minute, and I think GU looks fantastic. So if we look down at the daily, we have rejected off our value area, which is nice. We had our first rejection here, and then we followed through, swallowing this whole previous bullish candle, which is a good sign that we could be seeing some downside movement. What I want to be seeing is a break below this low for us to be coming short on the DXY, which will enable us to go long on EU. I want to be seeing something like this. Strong momentum early in the week, followed by continuation, and this is when we'll start to see the move into the lows, and this will give us a good idea, and this is when we can start to go long on pairs like EU. But because of the sequence and how we're selling off, this isn't something we'd usually see. So we've sold off back below, but you can see we had a squeeze here and then we've dropped out. This is where we would have been seeing a continuation like this underneath that low for us to carry on short. But what we've seen, due to a bit of news as well, I believe, is we've started to whipsaw. So I can see this correctively moving down to this low, and if we hit this low and start heading long, we've pushed back in and formed this continuation here. We could well be going long, and this is where we could see this structure turning into a continuation pattern. So I'd have that like this, more of a two-touch. We'd have the insurance entry there. Obviously we don't trade the DXY, and we would start to see moves into the highs like this, which I'm not going to rule out, which makes sense on pound dollar for us to be seeing another move to the lows. For us to be coming this high, we would need to see a big change in sentiment, but if we come back to this high here, and then this will be another area where we can have a try and sell off again. So if we see something like that and form continuation here, that would make sense with pairs like GU for the short-term sell and then into the longs. But if we just crash through early on in the week and form this continuation, like I already said, is we can be seeing some serious buys on pairs like euro dollar, which I'll be looking to capitalize on strongly. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening on this during the week, and it's quite exciting, to be honest, as we enter fun times, coming to the halfway point of Monk Month, halfway through Q1 already. You could just see how quick time's going, and the market's not waiting for any of us. It's time for us to be capitalising this year. So I'm just going to keep that ray line on and see how we react there. So if we go on to EU now, we can see exactly what I was talking about. And we can see that this is clearly the inverse of what's happening on the DXY. We've had the bearish momentum, we've retraced, we've swallowed the whole of this bearish candle here, but we have ended on a bit of a wick, and we can see there is some indecision within this daily candle here. So this gives us the idea of just staying neutral. I would prefer the longs on this pair, so what I would be looking for is a break above these highs, continuation, and that's when we can start to look to get long. But if we go down onto the lower time frame, we can see that this isn't our standard sequence that we'd usually be seeing. So we've pushed back in, we've had this short flag. This is amazing. So we've pushed on. What we wanted to see then is another continuation, like very similar to this. But you can see maybe that bit of news again, but we've started to whipsaw. So what I want to see is push above these highs, continuation, retesting the back end of this high, and this is where we can start to look long. So I'll be looking to go long here. We can possibly get in with a 10 pip stop. This is quite usual on a reliable pair like euro dollar. And so we can see into the first high we got 8%, so no brainer to be looking for the longs there. On the other hand, if we do break above on the DXY and start to see the continuation, it's very likely we're going to be seeing something similar. Something like this for the short on the EU. I'd much prefer the shorts on pound dollar, but if we was to get something like this, we can see we're expanding, and we can see that we have got this value area below. So if we push into this high, if we push into this high here and then we get the insurance entry, I wouldn't be looking to risk entry it here, as we have tapped into that low and we're highly weighting on the DXY to show us its hand. So over here you can get caught in some pretty average positions, and due to the size of this as well, the risk entry for myself is not on the cards. But if we pull into these highs here and we do get this insurance entry, we can get in with a 10 pip stop, which is what we'd usually be seeing on here. And if we follow through into these lows, we got over 13.5% to be playing with around here. So that is enough risk to reward for myself to be able to take the shorts, but must see the insurance entry. Overall, preferably, I would prefer the longs on this. So going on to pound dollar, we can see overall we have tapped into this hook point here. We have the low here. We have gapped. We've got one gap here. If we go down to the 4 hour, we can see we're in a bit of sideways price action at the moment, and we can see this hook point here. After we've sold off from this area, we'll be able to see this hook point more on the 1 hour, but we've tapped into this hook point and we do have the high test, which is strong confirmation that we're going to see another leg down to fill this gap here, which would be lovely. So we can see here, we've tapped into this area, we've squeezed, we've sold off, created a 2-touch, created our hook point in the process too. We have sold off, failed to reach the lows, and we have had a 3 drive into this hook point. I'm not so much focused on these 3 touches here, but you can see the overall idea. We've tapped into this hook point. Let's drop down to the 15. So again, you can see this 2-touch continuation. We've drove into this high. We have started to sell off here. So if we can go down onto the 5 now, This enables us to go down to 5 because in this piece of price action here, we're at the start of this run. We're at the start of this potential run to the downside. And from what we can see, there's ample risk to reward to be taken advantage of here. So there's no reason why we can't look at the sells from here. So if we start getting clear continuation like this, which we can see on the 15, I'll look to drop down to the 5 and I'll look for the risk entry here. Even a reduced risk entry, you're still well within your means to take that. So we could take the risk, we could take the reduced risk entry, and to this low, to the first low, we got nearly 4%. To the second low, we got 5%, and we've got 8% to the lows here, and that's being conservative with a 12 pip stop and looking for the reduced risk entry. If we was to get the risk entry, so I'll turn that down to 10 pip stop, which is what we could see on a pair like GU, very reliable pair, so it's definitely a pair that I'd always be looking to trade. There we go, we've got over 10% to the lows. And who's to say the markets are going to stop exactly where we stay? So if we break through the lows, we could be seeing big moves down. But from where we are on the DXY, this is our pivotal area. This is where I'll be looking to switch my bias to longs once we hit that area. So it all just depends on how the DXY wants to play out this week. Well, it's going to be a very exciting week. I know that for a fact. So that's that on a pound dollar. CAD yen is just beautiful. So overall, we've had our V shape. This is a very sharp V shape, but we've struggled to sell off. This wasn't the typical sell off what we were seeing, what we wanted to see. Really, we would have seen that as volume accumulation, this tap into the high, then we get the sell off, and that's when we start seeing these moves down. But we didn't. What we did was made a gap to this high, sold off very correctively, so we can't even say that's sold off. And now what we're doing, we've been climbing towards this high. It's taken some time to get there, but we've gotten there in the end. So if we look down on the 4 hour, we can see that we're creating structure here, and we do have the clear middle section within the structure, which is a nice confluence, which is what we want to be seeing really if we're going to be seeing the sell-off here. And as we create that third touch, we can see we're squeezed. We've squeezed into this third touch now, which is lovely. This is exactly the sort of exhausting price action we want to see. We've had the tweezer tops here. We are selling off a little bit correctively. So if we go down to the 15 so we can paint a better picture, what I would want to be seeing for me to be able to get short here is we want to drop out of this corrective price action. We drop out and we break below the start of that squeeze, and then we form our continuation. So if we can break below this, even if we're trading through, that's fine, but we want to clear this squeeze for us to be seeing the sell-offs. So if we're to be looking for the shorts now, again, CAD yen, very reliable pair. We get in with a 10 pip stop loss just to the start of that structure. There's nothing move, just 6%. We've got 6% to be playing with around here. And then if we start seeing the big turnaround on these yen pairs, easily we can be dropping down to here. And this might be where we start to see bigger corrections. But we do have this volume on the left. And this was the point where we saw some bullish pressure. So definitely a target in mind. So to the first target, 6%. Second target, 17%. Third target, not even the last of the targets, because we got all this room to be playing with. I'm not saying we're going to hold a trade through, through this whole for a full 23%, but on this rundown we will see scale-ins, and I will definitely be looking to scale in here. So there's going to be abundance of opportunity. We just need to stay patient, stay alert, and just be ready for all these opportunities that are on the way. Keep doing the work on yourself. I'm going to be doing the work on myself. I'm going to be making sure that I'm ready to cope under pressure, and I'm ready to execute on these positions regardless of what's happening in my life. But you can see on the 4 hour, we've got these 2 rejections here. We've got the 2 dojis, and then we followed through with this bearish candle. So what we want to be seeing is another bearish candle similar. So if we get something similar to that and we break through, we're off to the races. So I'm really happy with that pair. Things are shaping up really well. So we should be seeing some nice movements coming in soon on these yen pairs. We just got to be patient. Euro yen. So I am seeing the shorts overall on euro yen because we have tapped into this little point of liquidity here, which you can see on the 4 hour. We've sold off aggressively from there, but it's not 100%. But what we do have is this V shape. This is clear as day. We do have the high up here, but this could be ages before we reach this high, and we could be selling off down here before we then look to reach the highs, which is where I'll be looking to go long, is down here. But again, we're a long way away, so I'll be looking to play this V shape at the moment. As you can see, we do have structure into the V shape, into the double top. So we've got our 1, 2, 3 drive. If we go down to the 1 hour, we can see the clear middle section. So again, and we are squeezing, very similar to CAD yen, we're squeezing into that high. No risk entries here, because we could just be squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and you can get caught in some really average positions. So what I'll be looking for is we break the high convincingly, we drop out, and then we start looking for this continuation here. Usually before we do get the big moves to the lows, we are going to break the high pretty significantly. We're not going to move too far away from it, hopefully, but if we do break the high and then we start seeing the sells, again, look, 15 pip stop, being very conservative. We've got nearly 23% worth of room to be playing with to the bottom, and that's, like I say, it's not that we're going to capitalize and have the whole 23%. I mean, someone might do that if we was to drop out aggressively, but it's what else we're going to be seeing, and I'll definitely be looking to scale in on this pair again. If we start seeing nice sequence, we're positioned nicely, we're just waiting for the sequence to play out, and then we're going to start looking at how we can execute on our entries. So again, there's ample risk to reward for the move to the lows. On the other hand, we do have the highs above, and I was looking at this as a running channel at the start of the week when we started seeing this bullish momentum here. So we had the move up, we had this correction, followed into another correction, and then we broke out. Only reason why I'm not seeing it so much as a running channel is because of this squeezing price action. But if we do break above and we do form continuation, have to be a solid 1 hour continuation. This is what we want to be seeing for us to be able to get in long. We do have a lot of space to be playing with, so if we get in 15 pip stop, not unusual on a pair like euro yen. We do have 13% to the top, and that's being conservative. So I will be ready to flip my bias if I need to, but from the price action we're currently seeing, we are seeing structure into the high. We are squeezing towards the high, and yeah, if we see the sell-off from here, again, I'll be looking to capitalize, just as I will same on CAD yen. So it's going to be an interesting week ahead just to see what's going to happen. Beautiful price action all around, all across the board. We're seeing beautiful. Right, UJ, dollar yen. Overall, we've been speaking about this for months and months, right? Mark's been speaking about this quite a lot as well, and we've been watching this move pan out as a whole. So we have the high. We just kissed the high. Usually when we, as I've said, when we break, if we're going to see the big moves, we're going to break this high. We're going to break this high, and that's when we're going to start to look to see the big moves. But we haven't broke it convincingly. We've just kissed the high. If we look on the daily, look at this for a sell-off. This is barely a sell-off. This is just a corrective move down. So we wasn't able to capitalize on these positions coming down, and it's not typically what we're going to be not typically the sequence that we want to be seeing when we're breaking these major value areas, and this is a major value area. So what we've done now, we've correctively sold off. We've tapped into a small value area, which is where we've seen some volume before. We've seen some serious aggression going to the upside. We've corrected, and now we're seeing serious aggression again. So we're just driving towards these highs, and when we take these highs, it's only a matter of time before we take these highs and come short, which is what I'll be looking for. But you might seem to think that this is quite a big gap. But if we measure, let's say we measure this candle. This is 1 day. We see 220 pips in a day. We know dollar yen has these big moves. So before we know it, by Tuesday, Wednesday, we could be seeing the move into these highs. How far are we from here? Yeah, 200 pips. We can be seeing that. We know how fast and how much momentum dollar yen can have. So I wouldn't be shocked if this reaches the highs within the first couple of days of next week. Can we capitalise on the long in the short term? For me personally, probably not. I'm looking for price to come up, break these highs significantly before we start seeing the turnaround. And then we start seeing that turnaround, and we start seeing these continuation form. I'll be shorting that all day. And this is the bread and butter setup that Mark's talking about. Know your bread and butter setups, and this is definitely one of them. So huge value area, looking for it to break above, break back in, sell off. That's all I'll be looking for on this pair, not overcomplicating it. And the last of my top 6 is dollar Swiss. So overall, we can see we've broke this low pretty convincingly as well. We've had this hook point, we've sold off, broke the low, and now we've created another hook point in which we've tapped into now. And we know that this is correlated with the DXY. I don't correlate it pip for pip or, candle for candle. But if we are going to see this DXY selling off, then this is very likely to be selling off with it. And we can see we've got the low, and we have gapped to the low. So if what we'll be looking for is price to fill this low. So we've tapped into the hook point, we've rejected, we've seen a nice strong candle swallowing over 50% of this large bullish candle, which is nice. But again, we've closed on this little wick here, and price seems a little bit indecisive. So what I'll be looking for is, might just be having a sharp pullback, So I'm going to mark on this low. If we then break below this low and we start to form continuation, notice I'm not trying to trade any reversals here. They're always continuations because these are the most reliable. So if we start seeing this continuation, retesting the back end of that low, we can look to get in. And this is something that I'd expect for early, midweek next week when the DXY starts showing its hand. So if we get in with a 15 pip stop, risk entry, retesting the back end of that low, our first target, we can manage it to the bottom of the flag for a little 1.5 if we do manage to get tighter. So say we get 11, 12 pips, we can manage it to the bottom of the flag. So let's say we get in 12 pip stop. We're looking for price to hit this first target here, which is the start of this little squeeze. Again, 7.5%. Target 2, 19%. And then all the way to the lows, you've got, I'm not even going to fantasize over these numbers, but again, it's the amount of room that we've got to be playing with. So if we get this move down, we start seeing a nice sequence, another continuation, break below the low, more continuation, I'll be looking to get in on that move to the downside because we've got so much room. So I think dollar Swiss is a beautiful pair, and I think a lot of people are going to have this on watch next week just to fill this low. It's the Falcon Mechanics 101. If we see this low, we want to be seeing this low being filled, and it's highly likely that we are going to be, especially with this bearish pressure tapping into this hook point. And if the DXY sells off, this is most likely going to be following suit. So in my additional pairs, Germany 30 looking absolutely stunning. I know a few people are definitely going to have this pair on watch. Some people may not trade it. I'll finally open my own personal account, so I'll start looking to trade this. Yeah, so we are at all-time highs. We've come into the double top, and we can see we've formed structure. And then look at that last daily candle, how we've closed. If we're going to be seeing a sell-off, this is the candle, this is the confirmation to show, or the signal, sorry. This is the signal to say that we're going to be seeing this sell-off now. Nice wick, washing out all these orders above. We've closed very bearish, and we can start to look for these sells now. So if we drop down to the 4 hour, we can see we've had the rechase, we've had the 1, 2, 3, we've had the middle section as well, which I think is stunning. Beautiful structure all around. Again, we have had a wick, but we've filled the wick with the bearish momentum. So if we go down to the 1 hour, yeah, and this is indices, so it may move a little different. So I'm going to mark on that low. We can go down to the 15. We have had the sharp pullback, yeah, but we can see left shoulder, head, right shoulder protruding the left shoulder, sold off. We do have the low, so what I'll be looking for here is a break of this low, continuation, and if we start seeing this continuation, we're off to the races. This is absolutely stunning price action from Germany 30, and it's exactly what we want to be seeing. So we get in, retesting the back end of the low, which is the low of the head and shoulders pattern. If we can get in with, let's say, $10 pip stop. Obviously on these indices, stop losses pips are always going to be bigger. We can see 4% to this first low here. And who's to say we're going to stop there? We are at the all-time highs. We are seeing the bearish momentum. We do have the head and shoulders. So if we just measure this leg down, right, we can see that how convenient we are lining up with the second target, which is here, which is the volume of what we've seen before. So from the risk entry, we can be looking down for us to break this, and that's the same without scalings as well. So we've got 14% to the low, and if we take this line tool and put it on the break of this flag, how convenient is that it lines up with that low? So overall, I'm really liking this pair, and if we do get a trade on it, this will be the first time I've traded it. So we've got so much room. Price action is beautiful. We've got the 1, 2, 3 expanding into the high middle section, bearish pressure. There's no reason why this can't sell off from here. So, and that's the beauty of the Falcon mechanics, is we're waiting for price to show us its hand before we get involved. We're not just taking, you know, we're not just trying to call the tops and call the bottoms. We are waiting for confirmation, and confirmation is within these flags. So beautiful. I mean, look at that daily. You can't ask for anything more than from a sell-off from this daily. So some beautiful price action all around. Silver, right, not a pair that I've traded often, but you can see a nice picture being painted all around. Okay, last week very bullish, but overall we've tapped into this high, we've sold off very aggressively. We've got the low here and we've got the second low here. So if we go onto the daily, we can see this gap to the low. It's a very little gap. It is negligible, but it is the gap. At the end of the day, it is the gap. So if price is going to be coming bullish, usually we would break the low before we, you know, start to go to the highs. But we do have these 3 impulsive candles, and we know the market seems to move in 3s from the data that we've seen. So if we mark on this high, and don't forget, on the higher time frame, we've got the gap to this high. So there is the potential for us to be going long. The only way I'll be going long is we break above this high, continuation, and that's our confirmation that we'll be going high. As we've got ample risk to reward, say 15 pip stop for silver, which is a good stop size for this, to be fair. We got 10% to the high, so that looks fantastic for the long. On the other hand, I do like the shorts, which is what I prefer, for us to fill these gaps to the lows, because that would be Falcon 101. So we've got the hook point here, and we have this volume accumulation here. We've got the middle section. We've got the middle section. We've got volume here being built up. We're tapping into these highs here from where we last sold off. If we see price break above, not too far from the hook point, break back in, continuation, I'll be looking to sell that into the lows and maybe even further. But if we do get the sell off, I think it'll be really nice. So again, we got 15 pips. How much room we got? We got 10.5% to the low, and that's just to say that we're going to fill these gaps. If we break through, we've got a lot of risk to reward to be playing with here. So it's not something that I'd usually have on watch, but I wanted to be quite particular this week. So I do like the look of silver as a whole. Pound Aussie. This is some nice price action here. We do have other pairs which look nicer, but I do want this on as a wild card. So you can't see this sell-off point, and you can't see this value area on the daily, but what we can see is we have had the 1, 2, 3. We've had this squeeze into the high, and then on the daily we've had some bullish pressure into the high. We've closed below. Look at that, perfect. We've closed just below, and then we've retraced the whole of that bullish candle on the second day, the day after. So this is good confirmation to say that we're not going to be going long from here, and we can be starting to see the sell-off. This is the only thing I don't like about it, is we've sold off and we've started to see this weird sort of price action, which is not usually what we'd see. And if we was going to reverse from here, where would we reverse from? It's usually this second touch before we start filling the 90% rule. So what I'll be looking for here I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put this low on here. Right. I'm going to be putting this low on here. And then if we break below this low and form continuation, clean, let's see what we can get to the bottom of the flag. Bear in mind, this is the 90% rule being filled, so I will be on my management game here. But if we do break below and start forming continuation, we have got enough room to manage to the lows. So that'll be 3% to the lows. Right. Another potential entry which we're looking at is if we just break the lows. This would be the preferred entry, to be honest, is we just directly break this low, form continuation later on in the week, and then we can look to get in with what's nice for a GA. Let's say a nice conservative 20 pip stop loss, which, you know, is quite, this is what we'd probably be seeing on this pair. We've got huge room to be playing with down to the lows. 28% there. Obviously, like I say, we're not going to be catching the whole move, but we can look to scale in. It's going to be beautiful. I was looking at a potential entry around here, where we are now. So we've got this little point here. If we were to see the 1, 2, 3 into that, I don't like that, because one, we've got this wick. Two, we've got all this shady price action here. So it's not something that I'll be looking to see. But if I'm going to mark on this hook. We have gap to it, very tiny gap, which is nice. You could also say this is a sort of running channel here. And we know what happens when we have the running channel. Price usually snaps back. If we did see something like that, it is a bit on the big side, but I would take an insurance entry there. It is a very large flag, so I wouldn't be going for the risk entry, but you can see if we crop that wick to the low, to where we are currently, that is 50% of the run. So we're well in our rights to be looking to take that. So overall, this pair is looking quite nice. We just need to see some more. We just need to see some more confirmation of what's going to be happening next. Last pair on watch for me, Aussie Yen. Again, this looks lovely. From the daily. We can see we've got the high. Very similar to dollar yen actually as well. We've got the high, we've kissed the high, we've sold off, we've had a massive wick showing that we're not ready to sell off. And this is where we've retraced, formed some volume, and now we're just driving towards that high. All I'll be looking for is that high to be taken. So again, very simple, Falcon 101. Which is what we're looking for all around really, is highs to be broken and then break back in and then continuation. So we can see we're driving to the high. I'm not going to be interested really in this point, this hook point here, purely because we've got the high here, we've missed here, we've missed here. The high is just asking to be taken out. So I'll be looking for the drive to the upside. Won't be looking to get long, but what I will be looking for, I'll be looking to sell this once we reach the top. This could be a bit later on in the week, so we start seeing price action, little squeezes. If we start seeing these little flags on the way up to this high, we're in good. This is a good sign that we're exhausting. So if we break above the high, break back in, start to see this continuation, this is where we're going to be selling off. So Aussie Yen, 10 pip stop, lovely. We've got a lot of room to be playing with. all the way down to these lows. So we can expect to see a lot of opportunities across the board, and it's looking absolutely fantastic. There was a couple of pairs which I chose to keep off this week. I'm not going to go through all of, yeah, well, only 5. I can go through all of them. So Euro pound, I think this will be looking nice in the weeks to come. I'm not looking to short this, hence why I kept it off watch, because, you know, Euro pound can take its time, and usually it does take its time. So we've got the low, we've broken this hook point, but if we was going to start seeing the longs from here, we would be seeing this bullish price action, but we're not. Looks like we're forming and expanding to hit the lows. So what I'll be looking for is this gap to be filled. Once we start seeing this gap being filled, this can take a while, another week, 2 weeks. We know how this pair moves. This is not something I'll be looking to short, purely because we can see how erratic price action has been to get all together. I know some people might have this on watch, but this is why I kept it off watch, just because it's erratic. So overall, next couple of weeks, I'll be looking for price to reach the lows. We'll expand into this low. We know expansions can act as continuations and reversals. When it's an expansion into a low like this is when we will be seeing it as a reversal. So we hit the lows, I'll be looking for the longs in the weeks to come. Plenty of risk to reward to be playing with to the highs. So I think that looks nice. Euro CAD. Bit of a dodgy sequence altogether now. Price is just giving us some chop. But there was a great lesson on the trade recaps, which I'm sure we all went over last month, and it's stuck with me. So we've broken the high, we've broken back in. A lot of corrective price action here. We was looking to get long here, but it just didn't play. Get short, sorry, but it just didn't play out. We've broken the lows, and now we're seeing the same sort of thing as this, just on a smaller degree. So a lot of choppiness. I know we could say that this is the hook, but it is above this high. If this was below the high, this might be a bit different, but it's above the high. And look at price action as a whole. It's just one big squeeze. You can try and make sense of, you know, we're expanding into it. Could see the risk, the insurance entry to the lows, which, you know, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. It's just not really something that I'm used to seeing in all of this chop. See, you could say this is the 1, 2, 3. You could say this is the 1, 2, 3. You could say this is going to be a 1, 2, 3. There's just too many variables here for what's going to happen, and it's not something that I'm willing to risk my capital on, especially when we've got other pairs on watch, which we have. So I left this pair off this week. Pound yen. I did leave this pair off too, purely because of I prefer EJ, I prefer CAD yen, and I prefer dollar yen. Even Aussie yen, I prefer that too. And I think I've got enough on watch. I don't like to go for the 6 wildcards too much, to be honest. I feel like it's a bit too much for me. So I like to keep my wildcards short. If I can get 3, 4, 5 at the max wildcards, I'm happy with that, as we have got ample opportunity across the board. So I don't mind leaving this one off this week. Again, we've had the 1, 2, 3 expansion. Going on to the higher time frame, very sharp hook point. We have expanded into the hook point, which is nice. We do have the high above, so I'm just bearing that in mind. It is quite far away, but I am just looking at price action as we've made this third touch. You can see on the daily we've wicked very low, very far down. If this would have closed more as a full body like this, let's go. I'll be looking for the sells, but we are starting to mess around, and I thought maybe if we was to start seeing something like this, well, we could start seeing something like this. I wouldn't like to short that there. It just seems a bit forced. So if we was going to go into the highs, we would see something like this. And that's when we would start going into the highs. So I'm quite happy to leave this off this week, as I do prefer the other yen pairs. Pound Kiwi, just becoming a bit of a mess all around, to be honest. You can make sense of it, but like I say, other pairs look better for myself. So we was looking for the sells on this last week, and they did look nice because we was getting some nice bearish pressure, but we've got the gap to this high. You could have this on watch, I suppose. We've got the hook point. We are driving into this, into the hook point with a corrective structure. But knowing this pair, this could just keep going on and on and on and on. So I'm quite happy to leave this off watch. So for when I did forecast it, this is what I was seeing. I was seeing a hook point here. I was seeing gap to the high. Seeing gap to the high. One. You got one. Subjective 1. 2. 3. Just kiss the hook point. I was looking for the longs on here last week to fill this gap to the high, but we didn't commit. We sold off aggressively again, and this is where we was looking for the shorts. Didn't get the entry on the shorts, unfortunately, because that was looking really nice. Small gap. If we're going to take this low, and we was going to go long, this is how I would see it going long, but it's just not the sort of price action I'll be looking to risk my capital on again. So I decided to leave that one off. And Kiwi yen. So daily, we've got the high. We've got two highs. This is why I prefer Aussie yen, because it's a bit clearer and we've got the one high to focus on. So we have got the squeeze. Again, it's subjective because you've got this. This could be like that. This could be a squeeze, or you've got the 1, 2, 3 here. You might have an internal 1, 2, 3 here. A lot of variables again. So I decided just to keep this off watch this week. But we are seeing the drive into the highs. So maybe for the following week, this is when we can start to look to have it on watch. We've seen impulse, correction, impulse, correction, sort of running channel kind of vibes, and that's broken out. And again, like I say, we are driving towards this high. So what we want to be seeing is, I wouldn't be looking to take any trades within this. Could, if it was to drop down, we was seeing the longs around this low, could take it, but for myself, it's just too much risk and it's not worth it. Sorry, a lot of talking and my mouth's getting dry now. I'm not used to talking this much. So what we'll be looking for is the highs to be broken, price to break back in, continuation down to the lows. But I think that could be another week and before we see that. But Aussie yen for me, I much prefer that pair as a whole. So I'm really happy with that. Really happy with my watch list as a whole. I think this is the most intention that I've actually put into my watch list ever. Me and Mike have been doing some mastermind calls, and we've been going over all the pairs and our filtration process and how we're looking to, execute. I highly recommend that you do form a mastermind alliance with people within the community. Just reach out. If you want to reach out to me, that's fine. You know, I'm quite happy to help. I'm not scaled up. I'm not far in my journey, but I've been doing this for a while now. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you guys, as I believe that giving back to the community is the only way that, well, it's not the only way, it's a strong reason why we are going to all succeed together. And I really am looking forward to seeing everyone's success. Crypto, just look in the crypto channel. Abdu's doing great explanations, and this whole run to the upside as a whole, Abdu has been covering that with great detail the whole way up. So we should have taken the message off Abdu. If anyone did get in down here, fantastic. I think I got in around here somewhere, which I'm still more than happy with. 20k Bitcoin. You can't ask for anything more, you know. But I'm really excited to see what's going to be happening on the crypto market as a whole this year, especially with now seeing the correlation that Abdul and Mark have been talking about with the stock market and the S&P and things like that. Isn't it all just so convenient? Yeah, so yeah, that's my Sunday market breakdown. It's the first time I've ever done this. To be fair, this is all done in one take, so I'm quite happy with how it's gone all around. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to message me. Andrew's the man to be talking to if you've got any issues with the software or anything like that. And that's it. Month is in full swing. I'm already feeling the effects of it. I'm eating clean. I haven't had one bit of sugar. I'm starting to get back in the shape that I've wanted to be in, you know. The cold plunges, the visualization. I could be work on the visualization much more, to be honest, but I've just been grafting that much into the night. I've not been prioritizing it as much as I should, and this is something that I do want to be working on. But like I say, the cold showers, the affirmations, the window of opportunity. If you don't know what the window of opportunity is, I highly recommend that you get rewired, because it's going to structure your psychology in a way it needs to be to become successful. And like I say, it's just a matter of time now. I'm really looking forward to the future of Falcon. 7 years. Here's to another 7 more, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching.